What a lad, man. It has just been lad after lad after lad on this podcast, and it is not stopping today with one of the greats joining us. He's played all around the world, including Bay of Plenty, the Chiefs, the Highlanders, and Canterbury in New Zealand. He played for Edinburgh in Scotland, where he also managed to play on the international stage with Scotland. He's spent the last 5 years in Japan, where he's played for the Sunwolves and Kyuden, and the soon-to-be 37-year-old is still going strong over there. He is a true lad. He is one of the greats. It is Phil Burleigh. Welcome, mate.
Thank you for having me, mate. You're really scraping the barrel, as I said earlier on, I think, this week. But
mate, you're one of the all-time great lads, so I'm stoked to get you on. And, mate, I didn't realise how many teams you'd actually played for. I always think of you as the Highlander and the Bay of Plenty man, but you've been around, haven't you?
I have been around a little bit, and I guess, you play for that long, you're going to jump around a little bit, eh?
Yeah.
Teams wouldn't have me as I got a little bit older, and someone took me on.
And soon to be 37, like still playing, going to head back to Japan and Kyuden again shortly. How is the body? How are you feeling?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like I've managed to get through this far, and it probably will be my last next year. I've said that for about 4 years running.
Yeah, you definitely said that when I was leaving Japan, which was, 3-4 years ago. You said this was definitely your last year, but mate, awesome to see you still going strong and still playing.
Yeah, and I'm still really enjoying my footy. And so last year I, as you get a little bit slower, I transitioned into 10, and I don't have to do as much defending, which is really nice. And so, look, I've loved, that different aspect of playing 10 and really enjoying my role within the team. So, the old dog, obviously.
Yeah, and you're playing Div 2 in Japan.
Yeah, so we were Div 3 last year.
Oh,
they had those three.
Oh,
they're changing it every 2 months, Japan, as they do. But we were down in Div 3 and we've gone up into Div 2. I think there's only 6 teams in Div 2, and the promotion relegation matches are always good fun. So fingers crossed we can do all right in Div 2. And
Are you a chance to get up to Div 1?
I think realistically there's a couple of teams there that are absolutely stacked. And we don't have as many probably foreigners and professional Japanese players as we need to get up there. So it'll probably be a challenge to stay up, and I guess, like I say, that is the challenge. So
it is pretty crazy though, eh? Like how short your season is. I think I saw the schedule of it the other day, and it was like 8 or 10 games, and it's like for a whole season, or the money you guys are getting over there, the yen that's coming in to play 8 games is just seems a bit crazy.
I know, and I looked at our schedule the other day, and I think we've got 3 games, leading up to Christmas, and then after New Year's we have 1, and then we have a 3-week break. We have 1 game, and then we have a 4-week break, and we have another 2, and then I don't
no wonder
know.
you can keep going, really.
Exactly. And that's been the great thing about it for me is in Japan, like in our comps, we never play any more than probably 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
So like if we played 3 in a row and I'm playing 80 minutes a game, I'm probably going to get injured. So it's been a bit of a blessing in disguise, to be fair.
Mate, no wonder. So, and do you think you'll keep going, or do you genuinely think this is your last year?
I genuinely think it will be my last year, and I guess I've prepared for that mentally for 4 years. So I'm about ready.
But you're right, because you'll get to the end of the year, you probably feel quite good still. You'll probably get another offer, and you know how sort of easy it is to get through with such a short time frame, and tempting to keep taking them, isn't it?
It is tempting because look, I love the game so much, and thinking about stepping away from it is obviously pretty hard, as you'd know. But I think, like for me, I'm probably going out on my own terms if I'm going out this year, and that's what I've always wanted to do. I don't want to get to the point where I'm like, I want to go again, but like, no one will take me at 37. Why not? But so look, I'm pretty positive it'll be my last, and it's been a great career.
I look forward to talking about it. Is your family enjoying Japan? Like, were they pretty keen to get home and sort of set up here as well?
Yeah, they love aspects of it. Sophia does enjoy it can be quite a lifestyle. So like you come here, you do a lot of socialising, and then geez, I'm ready to get back because I've had too many beers. So you get back and you have that quiet lifestyle, which is really enjoyable.
Yeah.
But also you miss the aspect of being around family and being around socialising with your good mates and. You do miss that a little bit. And
you've been living in Fukuoka, which is a place where I was lucky enough to live as well. Such an awesome part of Japan, isn't it?
Yeah, great spot. I mean, south of Japan, it's a beautiful area, Fukuoka. A lot of good beaches around that are pretty handy. And as you know, where you lived as well, in Island City, it's got a lot bigger.
Yeah, I bet.
And, around a beautiful waterfront. And look, I go to training to the gym in the morning and sort of do my own thing, and then afterwards, the kids are in preschool, which is great, and I can just go down and read my book and
you are living the life.
Have lunch. And it's pretty crazy. Eh?
Well, we spoke about your journey a little bit there, but I'm keen to hear it from the start, and I know you're born and brought up in Canterbury, but keen to hear a little bit more about that.
Yep. Born and bred here, so I think my rugby journey probably started when I was 5, maybe, and down at New Brighton Rugby Club, greatest club in Christchurch, obviously. Mate, so I started down there, and look, my family had a big affiliation to the club, and my dad played for Canterbury in the famous Shield era in the 80s, and so I guess it was in the blood.
Was there pressure on you to play footy, or did you always feel like there was? Or
no, I don't think so. I guess there was always, as I got a little bit older, people would come up to you and say, "Oh, I know your dad," and all that sort of thing. Yeah. And I didn't feel any pressure because I loved it so much. So I wanted to be like Dad.
Yeah.
As you do. You can see it in your kids now. Like even with your kids, they look up to you and they want to just be like your dad. So
yeah, that's cool. Were you good? Like from a young age?
Oh, I think I was. Yeah, I don't know if you could. if you could go by scoring tries, I think I scored a lot when I was younger. I think I got to a point though, like I was really good growing up, and I definitely had the skill set. And then I got to high school, and I hadn't grown a lot, and so I started playing halfback. So I was a 10 predominantly, and then I started playing halfback through school.
Yeah.
And I think I probably like that for a couple of years there when I was 3rd form, 4th form, 5th form. Maybe I started to think, maybe I'm not going to make it, because I always thought I'd be a professional rugby player.
Oh, true, even from a young age.
Yeah, it was your dream. It's every kid's dream, I guess. But
you thought it was a reality as well?
Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I used to tell people that, that's what are you going to do when you're old? Professional rugby player.
Yeah.
I played for the All Blacks probably, but that didn't happen.
Mate, still played international, didn't you?
Yeah, I got there in the end. But so I played halfback right through school and even first 15.
Oh, far out.
And then I started to get a little bit more size about me again, and that's when my confidence started to take off again.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
Yep. So sister's 2 years younger than me, so she was really good at athletics.
Oh, yeah.
Growing up, she competed, for New Zealand. And my little brother, he's 9 years younger, and
true.
He loved rugby. He's sort of finished up a little bit now, and he's a builder. But he played for New Brighton as well.
Yeah.
When I was there.
True. So when you were growing up, how did you get your skill set that you said you're like quite skillful?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes naturally.
Yeah.
I think you'd probably find maybe the same thing, but a lot of it's natural. And but Dad used to take me down to the park all the time. I don't know if he wanted to, but I'd nag him, constantly nagging him. And it wasn't always rugby. Like it was, in the cricket season, I'll be telling him to come outside and throw me the ball. Or if he didn't want to, I'd be throwing the ball up against the wall and, have my team sheet, whatever team, I felt like supporting at the time.
Yeah.
I'd be playing like them. I'd be left-handed and Gilchrist. And,
So who was bowling? No one?
No, me at the wall.
Oh,
throw it at the wall.
And then I'd
get the bat out and score. Yeah.
Oh, mate, how good's that?
And then and so I loved all ball sports, and I think it's that hand-eye coordination thing. If you're continuously doing it,
you're going to get better. Eh?
Yeah, you're going to get better.
So then, school, you went to Shirley Boys.
Went to Shirley Boys. Yep. So played first 15 at Shirley, and it was my last year there. We actually had a really good team, and even the year before that, actually, because Christchurch Boys High had never been beaten in the in the the Press Cup back then. For about 6 years. So 6 years they were unbeaten in the whole competition.
Crazy,
and Shirley Boys made the final when I was sixth form at Rugby Park here, and I think they were up by about 3 tries, and we'd managed to come back in the last probably 7 or 8 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And to the point where I think we scored, they kicked off, and it was about 25 phases, and we got a penalty from 40 metres out.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, Chris McNichol, who was a second year 7th. He went to Christchurch Boys. He was the first
true.
15, yeah. And then came to us, and mate, he absolutely shanked the kick. Oh, the poor guy was devastated, but you can only imagine what everyone was thinking.
Oh, cricket. And from school, did you make it into Crusaders Academy, or what was your sort of pathway from out of school?
So, so I did. I made it into the Canterbury Rugby Academy just out of school. I think my transition back from 9 to playing 10 was actually the under-19 team.
Oh, yeah.
Or under-18s might have been. There was a tournament out on the West Coast, and I went back to playing 10, and I managed to get a trial for the under-19s, New Zealand under-19s.
Oh,
and
true.
I think I got to the second trial, and I ended up being a non-travelling reserve.
Yeah.
Which you don't get to do anything with that.
Do you get your gear or no?
No, you don't get anything, mate. You just
the title.
It's just the title.
For podcast a few years later.
Exactly. And then that started me in a different direction, and playing 10 or 12.
Yeah.
But I went back to New Brighton. I played senior footy from 18 there as a 9, and they wanted me to play 9, and I wanted to play 10.
Yeah.
It was really hard to try and figure out where I wanted to play, and then I ended up playing 12. So, but yeah, I was in the system with Canterbury.
Yeah.
In the academy for 3 years, and that definitely laid some awesome foundations to be able to kick off your professional rugby career. It was definitely. Now that I've seen other academy systems, it was definitely set up the best.
Yeah. And was there frustration that you weren't getting a crack during that 3 years' time? I know when you're young, you often feel like you're ready, but you look back in hindsight and you think, no way I was ready.
Nah. I probably, I think in my third year, I was 20, and I made the Canterbury team, and I had some stiff competition in front of me.
I bet.
And I never got a game that year, so I trained all year and never played, and that was frustrating.
Yeah.
And I just got to the point that season where I thought, man, if these guys are hanging around, and Sonny Bill he signed the next year, and I was playing 12 at this point.
Yeah. And they already had Crotty?
They had Crotty, Casey Lalala. They had Sonny Bill coming. Who else was there?
Timmy Bateman? Or was he
Timmy was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then your 10s, you had some pretty reasonable 10s floating around at the time too. Dan Carter was still there. Slady was there. There was some good, quality players, and obviously wanted to play Super Rugby too. And I thought, the best opportunity, and back then, obviously, you played for your catchment area. You had to play
you had to be in that region.
You had to be in that region, and I saw my best opportunity to potentially being able to play for the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got a lot of offers. I ended up getting 9 offers, I think, from different provincial teams.
That's good for the ego.
Yeah, it was. And they all varied big time in the amounts they offered and what they could offer. And it wasn't really about that. It was, for me, it was about, my best way
to get to
Super Rugby. And, we ended up choosing Bay of Plenty, and I went there when I was 21. I I think it was the right decision for me in the end. And looking back, I think it was the right one.
How'd you find it up there? Obviously, you would have by yourself.
Very different culture. Yeah, first time away from like moving away out of the city. From family and everything as well, and just such a different culture.
Yeah.
Like you come in, like in the South Island, you barely even shake hands. And you're like, "G'day, mate," or you shake hands. I haven't seen you for a week.
Yeah.
Not like I haven't seen you 10 minutes. I need another bro shake. And so, like, adapting to little things like that. When I first got there, like boys would be shaking your hands every 10 minutes, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" I'm sure I saw him half an hour ago.
Stoked to see you.
It was brilliant. But yeah, it was awesome. I loved living there.
Yeah.
And loved the environment in the end and the different culture and adapting to playing with the lads. It was awesome. And we had some good teams.
Yeah. Did you get the opportunity on the field you were hoping for or you expected?
Yep, I definitely did. And I think I was probably pretty vocal about that when I went there.
Yeah.
And I think you sort of needed to be. And in the end, I got the opportunity that I needed, and I started at 12, most weeks. And I made the wider training group at the Chiefs that first year. And I ended up getting a couple of games that year due to injuries, and it was hard to get games when you were a wider training back then because you had to have 3 injuries, I think it was, in your position.
Yeah.
And you don't wish that upon anyone really, but you're sitting there thinking, "Oh, is that an injury to my position?
How bad's that one?" He's limping.
Is that 3 months? 3 months. Yeah, but and then the year after, mate, I was in the wide training again, and didn't get a game that season, and then I ended up at the Highlanders.
Yeah, so how did you end up in the Highlanders? I know that was quite a unique situation.
Yeah, so I got picked up by the Chiefs again the year after that. So I'd been in there for 2 years.
Third wider.
Third wider.
All right, that's almost a Mike Coleman record.
Yeah. And there was some good. That was when Dave Rennie and Wayne Smith. There were some awesome coaches that had come on board. Ian Foster had been the coach the years before that.
True.
So there was some bloody good coaches that had been involved, with the Chiefs. And I remember Wayne Smith in pre-season. He didn't know that the rule was there with the, you had to have 3 injuries to be able to play.
Oh yeah.
And I remember he's like, "Nah, this is absolute bullshit."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm getting this changed." And I think he did the year after. That rule was gone.
True,
the wider trainings got picked on, if they were performing, they could potentially play.
Well, makes way more sense.
There's
always these rules, Like
it was quite funny. But,
was he going to pick you? Was that what he was trying to implement?
I don't think so. That was very early on in the piece, so we probably were only there for a week or two. But he was just like, "I can't believe that's the case." And anyway, so cut a long story short there, I went through pre-season and that, and obviously you play a couple of local games during the season, and the Highlanders had a lot of injuries to the midfield, and I got a phone call probably the week that the Chiefs were supposed to play the Highlanders in a pre-season game in Queenstown.
True. Oh yeah.
And I got a phone call from Jamie Joseph, I think, asking if I wanted to come down. And he said, like, I'm going to guarantee you starting time. And it was pretty hard. Like, Sonny Bill just managed to find me wherever I went. So, like, I moved to Bay of Plenty and thought my route to the, playing Super Rugby was the Chiefs. And I ended up having, like, there was some stiff opposition there.
Yeah.
And then Sonny Bill decided he'd come to the Chiefs.
Mate, he was path blocking
you
from day one.
I don't know what they saw in him. And then I ended up, obviously taking that offer up because it was I wasn't going to get that starting time with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I got on the plane with the Chiefs on the Friday morning, I think it was.
Yeah.
I got picked up by Leicester Rutledge at the airport in Queenstown.
Everyone else goes on the team bus and you go.
Yeah, like, "See you, Bills." Trader. And so I got taken to the hotel where the Highlanders boys were staying, and I had to learn their moves pretty quickly and their calls. And I played for the Highlanders that day against the Chiefs. And after that, I jumped back on their bus and went straight back to Dunedin and ended up staying there for 3 years.
Mate, that is crazy. Was it awkward telling the Chiefs boys that you were going to do that, or did you have to stand up and tell the group? Or?
Nah, they were really good about it, eh? Like, they're a real good group of men, and they totally understood what I wanted to do. And it was funny, like the very first game of the season was actually against the Chiefs in Hamilton. And, man, the Highlanders had a lot of injuries, that season. And, Tamati Ellison had been playing in Japan. And he got called in too. So and I actually started in the midfield in that first game. And, like...
Against the Chiefs, the side that you'd done the pre-season with. That's crazy.
And funnily enough... I ended up scoring the winning try in the corner.
Oh, mate, fairy tale stuff.
It was. I couldn't believe it. But so that was my route to the Highlanders.
Mate, that is crazy. What a crazy, unique story to get into the Highlanders and change teams so late going into a season. And you obviously loved it at the Highlanders. You were there for what, sort of 4 years, was it?
3. So I had 3 years there in the end. And yeah, I did. I loved it. It was a really different culture. Because it was a bit of a misfit group. Like, there was guys from all around the country, and guys that probably, hadn't the same as me, hadn't got a crack at where they wanted to.
Just wanting an opportunity to play.
And wanting an opportunity in that. So sometimes guys just need that opportunity. They're just as good as somebody, or if not better. You just need that opportunity, and that's where a lot of guys got their opportunities and made really good careers for themselves in and around that era. I think quite a few guys made All Blacks that probably may not have thought they would have, at some point. But it was a really cool culture, and Jamie Joe created that culture, and he was tough. He was very, very tough. And there was some training sessions where you thought, like, no, this just isn't right.
He was taking years off the back end of your career, which you
for a lot of boys. And but like, he was real big on the mental side of things, and like and the psychology around rugby. And looking back now, like then I just thought he was mad. But now I look back and I'm like, I can see why he needed to do that for our group anyway. Because we clearly weren't as skillful as probably a lot the other teams, and his mentality around it was, if we're not the most skillful, we need to make up somewhere else. So if we're the toughest, then we'll potentially put some of those teams to the sword if they're a little bit off mentally. Which we did do.
That's interesting. So did he... Like, toughness, some would argue you can't really train toughness, but obviously he would argue that you can, and from doing all these tough trainings and constantly smashing each other, you do become tougher.
I think it might work for some and not for others. And I remember Chris Noakes was a good mate of mine, and so he was a 10, and bloody good 10, very skillful. And, like, I remember pre-season that year, he put in, like, there was a group of guys that he didn't think were tough enough. And, like, it was a brutal pre-season anyway. You were starting at 6 a.m. and finishing at 6 p.m. And there was so much stuff, within a 2-week block. And he sent the guys that he didn't think were tough enough to boxing. And, like, this was at 5 a.m. and it was only headshots. And luckily, I don't know why, he must have thought I was tough at that stage.
Tough category.
I shouldn't have been. I should definitely have been there.
How many guys were there? Like, what sort of size?
I think there might have been maybe 8 guys, maybe 8 to 10. I can't quite remember, but he put Jared Hoiata in there too, and like. Jared's not a soft man, is he? I think everyone knows that. But he's got a massive reach on him. So, like, he's just thought, nah, Ho, you're coming. And, like, you're just going to bash these boys up. I remember one morning, like, Noakesy turned up and his nose is, like, bleeding and everything. And he's just like, fuck this. He's like, this is making me softer. So it was brutal. He had those little things, but he did instill like confidence in you and your ability. And I certainly wasn't. I wouldn't have said I was definitely not a tough and imposing player. I was more of a skillful back and read the game. But it lifted you. It gave you probably a 10% lift that you needed, and especially cleaning rucks. Jeez, we cleaned some rucks. Holy. Too many. Because like that year, I think we came out and won our first 6 games, but we cleaned rucks like every day, and a lot of them. And the boys' bodies were just like wrecked.
Just blew out by the back end of the comp.
We blew out a little bit, It was either that or the fact that he put a drinking ban on us when we went to South Africa.
The boys.
He's like, I know you boys are pissing up all the time, and I think we're having double headers. We were just enjoying life, and we were on a high. And he had a word to the leadership group and said, let's just knock it on the head for 4 weeks. And we're like, yeah, sweet. And we lost every game. And we got back, and he's like, boys, like, whatever you're doing before, just keep doing it, okay? And we got back into things, and we started winning games.
So what were you doing? Like, you play on a Saturday, you'd be on the piss Saturday night, and then
Friday.
Sunday.
Yeah, Friday night game, obviously, big Friday.
Yeah.
It'd probably flow into a good Saturday.
Yeah.
And then but the boys trained well, piss up, front up.
Yeah.
That was the old adage, and an old Nacho. He would lead the charge there and make sure that was the case, and it just wasn't spoken off, but it was and I'm pretty sure we didn't show it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jamie Joe and his training style and coaching style, but he was also pretty good at recruitment and keeping players on as well too. I remember picking players from all over the country, trying to bring them down, and I know he did a pretty good job on you, keeping you as a Highlander.
He did. I think he spotted talent really well, and he knew which guys to get to fit the mould of the group. He did for a while, and then one year we had a shocker, but I'll get to that soon. But yeah, he did put the pressure on me to stay at the Highlanders at one point. And, I think it was my second year there, and I was going through back and forward with my agent, like whether I had an offer from the Crusaders and from the Highlanders, and I got to a training one morning, and he looked at me, and such an imposing man, he's a brilliant man. I get along really well with him, but he's got huge hands, and like he's 6'5" or 6'6", and he's just a big human. And he looked at me, and I walked up, and I was like, geez, he's looking at me, what's he going to say? He's like, Bills, have a seat, mate. And I sat down next to him, and he sits there and looks at me, and he had this thing where, like, when he'd sit there and talking to you, or he'd ask you a question, he wouldn't say anything for quite a while. Yeah. So you're sitting there real, like, an awkward silence, and you're like, oh, am I meant to talk here? Or
how's your day going?
Yeah, fuck. And then he said to me, you right, mate? I'm like, yeah, I'm good, Jake. He's like, good. Nodded his head for a couple of seconds. I'm like, do I say more? And then he said to me, mate, are you going to sign or what? And I'm like, yeah, obviously my agent sort of takes care of that stuff. He said, you either want to be here or you don't, mate. I'm like, yeah, well, I do want to be here. And he's like, good, well, that's done then. Boom, just shook with his big mitt and just shook my hand like real hard and walked off. And I'm like, fuck, I'm just going to have to sign now.
No other option. Locked in.
Everything else was off the table.
Were you leaning towards coming home to the Crusaders in your mind, or?
It was a real hard one, because like obviously this is where I grew up, and the Crusaders is a team that I always dreamt, of playing for. Yeah. So it was a really hard decision, But
Jamie Joe made it easy for you.
Jamie Joe did make it easy. He took that right off the table. The thing I came back to again was like the guys that were potentially in front of me. And like I had a starting spot at the Highlanders. And, Look, if I was going to progress and potentially like have a crack at, say, making the All Blacks back then, like you have to be starting week in, week out, and that's why, as well as Jamie, like, you know, telling me I had to stay, was always leaning probably towards the Highlanders, and I felt like we had created a bit of a family there, and I was a part of that. So yeah.
And was that year that you just signed on to? Was that the year you were talking about around the interesting year?
Yeah, I think it was. It was our second year, my second year there, because we'd done really well that you know, my first year there. I think we ended up one spot off the finals.
Oh, true.
And 1 point, I think it was even. But I think that next year, Jake went in a bit of a different direction and tried to get some more experienced, like, All Blacks, and like, they were brilliant guys, and they offered so much, but for whatever reason, we didn't gel as a team, and there were guys like you know, there was Nonu, Andrew Hoare, Tony Woodcock, who else was there? Brad Thorne,
true. Jose Gear,
Tamati was there. So there was a lot of guys that he brought in, and look, they were at the back end of their All Black careers, and like I say, for whatever reason, we just didn't gel. It wasn't that misfit group that was from all around the country, and you know, we'd scraped to get this opportunity. And I think, mate, we won 2 games that year, and it was a brutal season, and Jake still had that you know, tough mentality, and the guys that, you know, those experienced guys probably didn't quite see eye to eye with a lot of that. So there became a little bit of disconnection, you know, with the group, and it was really hard on Jamie as well, because you know, he'd had a successful year the year before and tried to build it, and it went the other way, and trying to get that back together was really hard. And I remember at the end of the year, all, you know, your one-on-ones, and as a leadership group, I was part of that leadership group, and we had said, well, we just need to be honest with Jamie and tell him some truths, and it was so nerve-wracking, mate, because, like, fuck, I remember, I'm pretty sure like, I was one of the first up, and I'm like, what if these guys don't say what we've talked about? And I remember, like, Nacho, Nasi Manu, Ben Smith, guys like that, they were really honest with him too, and we had to be, and he ended up taking it on board, and to his credit, like, he even said at the end of the year, like, I had to throw my my coaching book out the window and start from scratch because of what I heard, and it was I think it was really good. And the year after, he had Tony Brown on board, and they were a really good combo together. They matched really well. And the little things, like, because we didn't think it'd change, we were like, fuck, there's no way he's going to take that. And like I said, to his credit, he bloody did. And there was a little thing like, you know, before trainings, we used to have the cricket bat out and tennis, you know, and you'd be around the thing having catches before training. And, like, Jake would turn up usually and he'd be like, what the fuck have you got that shit out for? Get that out. And that first training session when we came back, we were all doing it. I'm like, oh, shit, he's here. We would have put it away. He said, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in. And he joined in, and we're like, hang on. So right from the get-go, you know, he just changed his ways a little bit. And, man, that season, going from a season that was so, like, tough and like, it was, I almost felt like I didn't really want to play anymore. And then the next season was awesome, and we made the quarterfinals. The environment was so different. All those guys that All Black City had, he got rid of, and the environment changed again. It was back to probably what it was, and look, in the end, that grew into getting into the quarterfinals, and we only just lost that match against the Sharks in Durban, And then the year after, they won the competition.
But by then you had left. So was that a hard decision for you? And did you leave the Chiefs just before they won as well when you said that?
Yeah.
So you're like that sort of, you leave that sort
missed
of
out, so the Chiefs did win that year that I went to the Highlanders.
True.
But again, I may not have been part of, that group if I may not have played. So they did. They went on I think they won 2 years in a row, didn't they?
Yeah.
And then, I think the decision to leave, I was 27 at the time, and I had to be realistic in the fact that, I was not going to make the All Blacks. And, I thought it was time for me to move overseas, and obviously the money is pretty good overseas, and I took the opportunity.
And was playing for Scotland part of your thought process at the time?
It was talked about, but I didn't I thought, should I be 30 by the time, I'm ready to play for Scotland? You had to do your 3 years. But it was talked about. Yeah, it was part of the package.
Yeah. Oh, true. So it was part of the package. So almost guaranteed?
No, it wasn't guaranteed. No. It was just more part of the appeal, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And Edinburgh, why'd you choose Edinburgh?
Look, it was one of the earlier offers when I was, my last year at the Highlanders, it was one of the earlier offers that I got. And, a guy, Alan Solomons, was the coach, and he was a South African guy who coached South Africa. He pumped up my tyres a fair bit.
Now, is it true? He said that you're better than Dan Carter.
Oh, mate, he said it that often, and the boys started copying onto it and calling me all sorts, and it was pretty funny.
So what would he say? Would he say in a team meeting that
Oh, mate, he potentially, he probably threw it out in a team meeting. He wasn't scared of saying it. And then I remember one in a semi-final we played in the, how it was the Heineken Cup, but it got split into the two, it was champions and the challenge. So we were in the Challenge Cup semi-final at Murrayfield, and I turned in an all-time performance. And after the game, mate, he came straight up to me. He shook my hand. He's like, I fucking told you were better than Dan Carter. And a few of the boys overheard it again. They're like, mate, I'm definitely not as good as him. And the next week, I think in the final, we had a shocker.
What did
we
say?
Lost. No, he didn't.
Oh, that's great. He sounds like an interesting coach, and a lot of good stories on him.
He was a really good man. He was a lawyer by trade, so he's a really intelligent man, but every second word was fuck or cunt. It was just it was constant.
Yeah.
And his conversations with me were really good, and his guidance, and I think I became a different rugby player when I was over there. It was very I still played 12 a lot before I went into playing a bit of 10 over there, but he gave me a lot of confidence, and because South Africans are so caught up on defence.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of defensive trainings, and I ended up having to be a lot better defender than what I was here. I was just an average defender in New Zealand, and I was known more for attacking and kicking and whatnot. But I had to adapt because it was so combative in the UK, as you know. It's a lot different. And playing 12, I wasn't a combative 12, crash and bash.
You were tough though.
Oh yeah, apparently. And then, he grew my game a lot. But he was a funny man. He was an interesting man. He was bloody funny. He used to get up when he'd walk in the room, for review, sort of previews and that. And he'd get up into the front of the room, and we knew what he was going to do every time. So he had his water bottle already set up, where he was standing, and he'd walk in the room, grab his drink bottle, have a drink, scratch his balls. There must have been about fucking 15 of us waiting for it. We're like, here he is. Oh, there's the ball scratch. And we'd all piss ourselves laughing. Fuck, it was funny. He was he sort of looked like Smithers off, off The Simpsons. Yeah. If there was a strong wind when we were training, I'm not joking, he'd just about blow over. He was a good man, though.
Oh, that's great. I mean, you had some good lads over there with you, like John Hardy and Mike Coleman and the crew.
Yeah, Moo was there. We had some awesome guys there, some great men. Hards, even Nasi Manu, he came over for a couple of seasons. He was a broken man when he came. We had some really good guys there, and like also like just being different cultures again. Like it's going from the New Zealand culture to the UK culture is so different.
Yeah, different
so
banter.
Much way different
No
banter.
bro shakes every 10 minutes.
No shake, not even a handshake. But way different banter, eh?
Yeah.
Way different banter. Some of it's quite brutal. But funny. It was really funny. Yeah.
And how did you get your call up to Scotland? Like, how did that whole process come about?
Yeah, so I'd done my 3 years and like I sort of didn't really notice that it had passed, or there was a time, when I qualified.
You weren't counting down, crossing them off the calendar?
I wasn't on the calendar, nah. And I think like the autumn Test series came up, and it was against Australia and a couple other teams, New Zealand coming over. And I got a phone call from Gregor Townsend, who was the coach, and he still is the coach, and said I'd made the squad. And it was a pretty proud moment. Like, of course, like you wanted to play international footy, and like I said, I'd forgotten about I knew it must have been close to being eligible, but when I got that phone call, it was a real proud moment because, even being able to go and like ring your parents and tell them, and I didn't have, grandparents that were from Scotland, but my great-grandparents were.
Oh, yeah.
So my grandfather had passed away a couple of years before, but all he wanted me to do was play for the Highlanders, which he never got to see me do, unfortunately.
True.
Because he's from Dunedin.
Yeah.
But he obviously had very close ties to Scotland, with his parents being from there. But, and so getting to play for those teams are pretty special for me and my family.
And what was the feedback for you when you went in? Like, I know a lot of guys who've gone in there haven't really felt that comfortable because they are a Kiwi who's just, done the 3 years and come in. I know usually the perception from the fans over there are like, how's he got in here? Like that, they're quite negative about the kilted Kiwi sort of tag. But how did you feel about it? And
you do get the kilted Kiwi tag. You do feel a little bit awkward at the start but they're pretty receptive. Like they made me feel pretty welcome, when I got in there, and there was obviously a couple of guys. Sean Maitland, had been in the team for a while, and there was quite a lot of guys from different, like South African guys, Australian guys that were actually in the team and qualified, either through residency or through heritage. They made it pretty easy, mate, to be honest. And as you know, like when you're a part of a whole lot of different teams, you're made to feel a part of the group straight away. Yeah. It's just part of like, you'd hate to be, I don't think it'd be a very successful team if it was the other way. What are you doing in here, mate? And there might have been a couple of guys that felt that way, but I certainly didn't see it.
That's cool. And what about your debut? Like, singing the Flower of Scotland for the first time, mate. How good was that?
Yeah, it was awesome, mate. I had to learn that hard, because you've got to stand up on the bus in front of everyone and sing it before you play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that whole
Captain's
week.
Run, sort of.
Yeah, no, so the whole week. So as soon as you get on the bus to go to training, you'll be up the front if you're playing that week. So the team got named like on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
You're up the front. And like I remember having the words like in the shower, like I had it and I'd sing it like out loud like all the time. And mate, there's a couple of little like words in there that if you get it slightly wrong, they pick up on it.
Oh yeah.
And man, I definitely stuffed it up like 3 or 4 times.
Oh, true. So you had to do it.
As soon as you do it once and stuff, sit down.
Oh, far out. So it was individual. It wasn't all the new
individual.
guys.
Yeah, it was individual. So and then finally I nailed it.
What? So you must have, if you found it on Tuesday, nailed it by Friday?
Yeah.
Played luckily on Saturday.
Yeah.
Ready for the anthems.
Ready for the anthem, yeah. And pretty special moment. It was pretty surreal, eh? Like, we played at Murrayfield.
Oh, such a cool stadium when it's full, eh?
Oh, it was awesome. And, like, so that was my home ground anyway, playing for Edinburgh.
But it was never quite as full.
It was never. We might have been lucky if we had 4,000, and a 70,000 capacity stadium.
Yeah. Echoey. Just remember playing there. It was so
crickets.
echoey.
Yeah. But, so it was pretty cool getting to play there and in front of 70,000 people. And just the atmosphere, like getting to the ground and going from the hotel to the ground and everyone out on the street walking, playing bagpipes. And it was awesome.
How were the nerves on the bench?
Mate, I was pretty nervous, and I don't normally get nervous before games. Like, I'm pretty casual, and I don't even really remember playing.
True.
Yeah, like I was on for, I think, 17 minutes. I played, came off the bench, and we beat Australia that day 54-17 or something.
Yeah, that's a good score.
It was a hiding, yeah. And, mate, blink and it was gone, eh? Like, I don't really remember much about playing. I couldn't tell you what I did. But yeah, it was a surreal experience, and the only one in the end. Like,
so I was going to say, like, why was it the only one? What sort of happened?
I was struggling. I was really struggling at the time with a groin sort of issue, and it had been niggling me all year. And I think I'd played through it. I wasn't like I was training once a week, and Richard Cockrell was my coach at the time, and he's another madman. I got on well with him again, but. Man, he was brutal. He would have probably been the most brutal coach I had.
True.
Yeah. And he was, like, tough. Like, you didn't want to get on the wrong side of him. And, mate, he was just like, nah, mate, you need to play. And you can just train once a week then. That's it.
Yeah.
I need you out there. And I was like, yeah, okay, sweet. And I remember, like, I went through a period there where I had to miss lunch, basically, and I had to go with the trainer. So we'd train in the morning. Boys would go up for lunch. I'd quickly have to get a wee takeaway bag, go down and meet the trainer and start my exercises about 2.5 hours before the afternoon training.
Oh, right.
And then I would have to go out half an hour before the boys got out for training to warm up for the warm-up. And because, the weather's so cold, it was just no good for my body, like soft tissue stuff was playing right up. And so, like, it was a real process. I hated it. But I still managed to play through about probably 7 or 8 games like that. And then during that time, I got selected for that. And I was like, man, I remember my physio at the time, like, talking to him. And I'm like, fuck, man, I don't, like, how am I going to cope? Like, he's like, mate, I'll, because he was the physio for Scotland too.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's like, mate, I'll get you through it. Like, don't worry, but you're going to have to train. And I'm like, fuck, I don't know how I'm going to do this. But I managed to train, and, mate, I'd get in the bath, like, in the mornings before going to training, and then after trainings, I'd be straight in the bath again. And, in the end, like, I got a chance. I got an opportunity, and which was awesome, and I wish I could have played more, and if my body was better, I probably would have. But unfortunately for me, the timing was just, I was getting a bit on, and I was 31 at the time.
When you made your debut.
So I made my debut when I was 31, and I think I told you I was the oldest back at the time that had debuted for Scotland, and I probably still am. But yeah, unfortunately, it just that was the case, and that's footy, eh?
Yeah, so why did you leave Scotland? Was that all part of it? Like,
it was. So I ended up playing a couple more games with that injury, and I got to the point in a game where it just blew to bits, and it was me done pretty much. And I had a 2-year contract on the table, and unfortunately the week I was meant to sign it was the week that, I sort of, it was no good anymore.
True.
And I had a meeting with Cockers that next day, and he's like, sorry, mate, I've taken that 2-year contract off the table, like, I just can't do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's fair enough. And he's like, but I'll still offer you 1 year. And I'm like, okay, that's all right. Like, I can deal with that. And so we walked away from that and started rehabbing that, and the rehab was just taking forever.
Oh, yeah.
And he got me in for another meeting after about 6 weeks, and he's like, "Hey, I've got to take that 1 year away." And I was like, "Fuck, okay." I was like, "Oh yeah, I get it."
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't annoyed or, pissed off. I'd enjoyed my time over there, but I think, like my body, it had taken its toll on my body. And the first year I went there, I played a full season at the Highlanders and then straight into playing just about every game.
Big seasons.
Yeah, so I think I played like 45 games that year.
Almost played his 50th cap in his first season.
Well, that 45 game, including the Highlanders stuff. So I think I played 30 games, or 32 games for them that year. And then the year after I played 27, and then the year after that I played 20, and then the year after that 30, So there was a clear pattern for me that was suggesting that either I was coming to the end of my time and going to have to retire or look elsewhere. And I didn't want to retire because, I loved it so much. But that was just a reality because I couldn't cough. I couldn't sneeze. I couldn't get out of the toilet. Like, I had to have a chair next to the bed to go to the toilet at night.
Oh, shit, was that bad?
So I was in trouble.
Yeah. And how'd you fix it?
Mate, I think time helped. I think I ended up signing a contract with Canterbury and the Sunwolves. And coming back to Canterbury, I think coming back home helped me a little bit. And, mate, I was willing to try anything. And I ended up seeing this lady. I'm not 100% sure what she did, but and she did something and it fixed it. Like over time, like when I was playing for Canterbury, it just started to go away.
What sort of treatment was it?
Oh, I think like she dealt with it was like there was kinesiology and like some emotional technique that she used, and I'm like not sure what she was doing with her hands. She wasn't touching me, but in that area. But it was whatever she did, like I didn't really care. I was just more open. I'm a really open-minded person anyway. And like I was like, yeah, let's give it a go. And I don't care what you're doing or not judging anything, and just have a go. And I just bought into it, and it slowly started to go. And because I was worried, like I signed for Canterbury, and I thought, man, I feel guilty for signing because like I don't think I'll be able to play.
Yeah.
But I did, and my first game when I got here, I did my MCL.
Did you?
Yeah.
Can't have been too bad.
It wasn't. It was probably worse than what it like. They got me back out within 2 weeks, but I probably shouldn't have. And I ended up getting my blood spun and injected back in with the gold platelets. And I got back out there within 2 weeks and ended up playing every game after that.
Money's worth.
Yeah. Only to lose the final to Auckland.
Now that was a game too, wasn't it? That was like extra time.
It was. We should have won it. But hey, it happens. But and so, mate, coming home and then doing different things, like, trying out different things sort of helped, and here I am still playing.
I remember you telling me how you'd fixed your hip or groin, and it gave me so much hope that it was going to help me as well, because we were on a similar path around how we were struggling and getting out of bed and all that sort of stuff. But no, here's me retired now a couple of years later, and you're still going strong.
Until you got your MRI done.
Yeah, mate. That still hurts. But no, it's cool. It's cool to hear how it's all worked and your body still strong.
Yeah, it is, mate. And it's it's been a different sort of path, and but very enjoyable.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Sunwolves, so you signed with Canterbury, and was Sunwolves part of that package, or did you play your way into that?
I think I might have spoken to you about it briefly. Is when I was at the Highlanders, I got a contract, an offer from Panasonic. I think it was in my second year that I was with the Highlanders. I went to Jamie Joe, my agent at the time, was like, mate, because it was a fair bit of money. Yeah. I'm like, I might not be able to earn that sort of money ever again.
Yeah.
And which is a poor mentality, by the way. And so I went to him and said, like, offer from Panasonic. He's like, nah, mate, you're not going. And I'm like, well, can you at least think about it? And he's like, no, mate, I can't afford for you to go, like, and then New Zealand Rugby wouldn't let me go either. They told me that I was in contention for the All Blacks, and I'm like, hey, in contention? What, am I 7th in line or 8th in line, or what am I? So they're trying to sell it to me, and So I never ended up signing. But in that conversation that I had with him, he said to me, mate, I'll give you my word now. If you ever need to go to Japan, like, I'll get you a contract there.
Oh, true.
And so I remembered that when I couldn't get another contract, man, when I was in Edinburgh, like, my agents are like, nah, mate, you'll be sweet. And then, like, time went on. I'm like, boys, like, hey, you know, I'm stressing out here. It's stressful.
It is, eh? I always found contract negotiations the most stressful part of rugby for some reason.
Yeah, same, 100%. And it is for everyone because, you know, and they keep riding out and you don't hear, or you're like, fucking hurry up.
Yeah.
Like, you want to perform at your best, but you've got that on your mind. And but anyway, they weren't finding anything. So I'm like, Timmy Bateman messaged me about the Canterbury thing because he was leaving. So that basically was, you know, my end to Canterbury.
Yeah.
So I signed here, and then I messaged Jamie Joseph and said, hey, mate, like, he didn't know about my groin, but I said, I'm still, you know,
I'm playing
great footy. I'm a good nick. Yeah.
Playing better than DC.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Alan Solomon's
I've got a reference.
And so he messaged back and said, leave it with me.
Yeah.
About 3 days later, he messaged back and he's like, do you want to play for the Sunwolves? And I'm like, yep, 100%. He's like, sweet, you're in.
Oh, how good's that?
Yeah. So he kept his word, and that's why I say, like, I really respected that. I don't know whether he remembered that conversation or he's just being a good man. But, he got me my in. And if I hadn't have got that opportunity, I probably still wouldn't be playing because I think that got me my...
Led to Kyuden.
To my Kyuden contract.
Right. And what was it like playing for the Sunwolves? Obviously, it was a new team, and like you said, the Highlanders was people coming from all over the show. Jesus, Sunwolves was next level. Just everyone picked out from anywhere, and you're all living out of a suitcase in hotels, really, weren't you? It was pretty crazy.
It was. It was on another level, and that year was the World Cup year, so they really used it as a bit of an experiment, to be honest. And they had like Jamie Joe and Tony Brown. Tony Brown was the head coach, but he wasn't really because he was there for about 5 weeks. And they had got like half of the team in camp at the time, like getting flogged, and then 12 guys, say, in the Sunwolves, and they had to play.
Oh, true.
And then like they would be in the team for 4 weeks, and then they would swap that group out. They'd go to camp, and that other group would come in, and like so. You sort of had to resign to the fact that that was going to happen all year, and I did that, and I really enjoyed my time with the Sunwolves, but for that reason, it probably wasn't going to work out, you know, in terms of the quality of performances week in, week out.
Yeah.
Because our second game of the season, we beat the Chiefs that year in Waikato.
Yeah, that's right.
And the group that was playing that game probably should have just started the next game.
Yeah.
But there was like...
Full rotation. So it was more about growing the Japan international squad than anything else.
I think it was really preparing for what they needed and... look, it worked for them.
It did, eh? Like if you look at it now, like how successful the Japan squad was going into that World Cup compared to, they're obviously not doing it now, but they seem to be struggling a lot more now.
There was definitely a method to their madness, and it clearly, like I said, and as we saw, they played very well in that World Cup, and the guys that played within that team actually performed really well. So. Yeah.
Was there pressure on you guys to perform or not really? Because, you know, the clubs over there, you've always got the, you know, the company guys coming in and saying must win and all this sort of stuff.
And they don't know anything about rugby.
Yeah, when we've lost the last 20 games and now we're playing the best team in the company saying you must win, must all win.
That's the one thing in Japan that really frustrates me, actually. like our team, Kyuden Voltex, so when I first got there, mate, they hadn't won a game for 6 years.
Yeah.
And they hadn't had foreigners, and like we played Kobe in a pre-season game, and like the big dogs of the company are like, we must win. So I'm like, this is the number one team, and we're like, say, ranked 26, and there's a big like discrepancy in ability.
Massive.
And like they'll put 80 or 90 points on us in a pre-season game, and they're like pissed, like embarrassed. And like our coach is like, mate, you just have to get used to this. This is just what it is.
It's so true, and it's so funny. They would have just seen like young DC go up against old DC, was it?
I think so.
Expecting you to come out on top like Solomon told.
He's just going to make all the difference. He should win those games, yeah. But the Sunwolves, mate, was the support that you got from the people in Japan was incredible. Like, you turned, like, every home game was packed, and like their supporters are awesome, and they're like the big dogs like Michael Leach and guys like that are superstars over there. They sit down and the Japanese line up for miles just to get autographs.
Mate, they love a line.
Oh, don't they? They're so orderly and patient.
Yeah, patient for sure. Oh, true. So Michael Leach is just like a god over there.
Yeah,
true.
Absolutely.
What about someone like yourself?
No, not so much, mate.
Would you get recognised at all?
No, like where we are, and there's a lot of Sunwolf supporters that still come to the game. They even follow you around. Like they'll fly to a Kyuden game.
Yeah.
And the Voltex aren't much, but they're getting more and more support, which is really good. And that came probably from the Sunwolves because there was a bit more of a following. And but no, not so much, mate. That's the beauty of it, being in where we are in Fukuoka. You would have found that. Did you find that when you were living there?
And no, like, media pressure as well. Obviously, you can't read the media, but I don't think there was any media about it anyway.
We couldn't read it anyway, could we?
Yeah, exactly. But just playing a game, and you might not have had the best game, but it didn't really matter. You just go back to your house and get on with life. Whereas here, you really feel those moments when you don't have a good game.
Yeah, because like your ears are burning. Yeah. Someone's talking about it.
Yeah, 100%. And how have you found Kyuden? You've been there, 5 years now? Is this your 5th year?
Yeah, fifth season, going into my 5th season. It's been really cool. Like I've found that the challenge really cool because, like I said, that for 6 years there they had no foreign program because they had a big earthquake in 2011 and one of their reactors, broke down and they wiped their program, and so starting from scratch and like trying to build the club up to getting them back to where they want to be is in First Division, but probably a wee way off just yet, but they're certainly heading in the right direction. And initially we only had 3 foreign guys, and as well as I do, like when you've only got 3 foreign boys and even one gets injured, you're in trouble. And you're only allowed 4 on the field. Back then, I think it might have been 5.
Yeah, it was 5 when I was there, but I think it's dropped to 4 now, hasn't it?
But even the ability to have foreigners on the bench, when one gets subbed and putting them on, and having Japanese professionals. So our club or company have never had Japanese professionals, and they never wanted to. It was one of their rules, and you know how they're just such old school rules, and they don't want to change them.
Yeah.
So it's taken a long time, and now eventually, like last year, they got some Japanese pros.
Oh, they got pros, true.
And then this year they've got more, so they've finally seen the light and realised.
That's a big part of it too. You look at the teams like Panasonic, and their Japanese guys are like as good as some of the foreigners, and
100%.
When you've got guys who are just working, like our guys were filling up Coke vending machines all day, and then they come out to training knackered, and
I know, the poor buggers.
We expect them to be like some of these professional players. You're like, no chance.
100. Yeah, our coach at the time, and he's gone now, but Zane Hilton, he put a lot of pressure on them to, get the Japanese pros as well, because you need them. Like you need them to be able to progress into that First Division anyway.
Yeah,
and you need quite a few of them. So, but yeah, mate, like I say, really enjoyable, the challenge of growing the group that. Are the Japanese boys that work really hard all day, every day, and there's only 3 foreign boys that are stuffing around in the gym in the morning, get to read a book down by the water, and come in at 6 o'clock at night and join the group again, and be on the physio bed all day, because there's 4 physios, and like
you've got one to yourself.
Yeah, they need to feel like they're doing some work. So it's been a really cool journey at Kyuden, and now I think we've got 9 foreign boys.
Oh, far out
this year. So and 5 Japanese pros. So
it's
looking a lot different.
Div 2 by storm.
Yeah, hopefully.
And post Kyuden, you've spoken. This is it. So what's next for you?
Oh, I'm pretty open. Pretty relaxed about it. Look, I've spoken about coaching and I love rugby so much, and I love the analytical side and strategy side of it.
Yeah.
Especially on attack. So, yeah, there's definitely the possibility there that I would get into coaching. But as you know, it's making that decision, like with your family. You've got a young family and your wife, and it's a hard one to balance and get right for them as well. So, and that's what I've always said to Sophia is like, she's had to tough it out in Japan for, which was going on 5 seasons. So if she wanted to follow her career path, then I would, go wherever she wanted to go, and wherever that is. I'm not sure, but if it's not coaching, like I said, I'm pretty open-minded about opportunities. So if anyone's listening out there, throw some ideas at me.
There you go, mate. I'm sure there'll be a lot of teams coming to you with a coaching opportunity anyway. You're an absolute wizard when it comes to the rugby mind. But we will get through some of these questions before we wrap this up. What a story that's been. But first question, how was your first night out in Edinburgh?
First night out in Edinburgh? Oh, man.
This came in a few times, so this must be quite a memorable night.
Well, obviously not for me because I can't remember. My first night out, man, I can't remember 100%, but I'm thinking potentially maybe it's when, I might have peed in the wrong place in a bar, thinking it was night time too, but it was still daylight. And then I've maybe got a taxi home and realised I didn't have my wallet on me and paid with my phone. And I never got that phone back.
What, you gave him your phone?
Yeah, as
as payment.
I'll once I get my wallet, I'll get my phone back. But I never got it back. I lost my keys. I've had to scale 3 stories, and I fell down to the bushes. I think I've made it in eventually because I think the front door was open. Look, maybe that's the one.
Oh, that's definitely got to be the one. Surely that stuff sort of didn't happen on a regular, did it? That is one of the greats.
Yeah, it could have been that one.
Good stuff. Okay, next one. Best New Brighton court session story.
Court session stories. I think what we had to do back then was the uphill, downhill. It was started you started eating off wheat bix, 2 wheat, maybe dry wheat bix. Yeah. And then you your 7 ounce, 12 ounce, pint, jug, pint, 12 ounce,
yeah, that's
7
tough,
ounce.
Yeah.
And then you had to eat the jelly meat from a cat jelly meat.
Oh, yeah.
Food.
Yeah,
you had to eat that. Jesus. Not good. I don't know if that happens these days.
No, I don't think so, but yeah, I'm so far out of it now.
Well, that's all I can remember from court sessions from, it was just madness.
Jelly meat. Oh, good stuff. Okay, next one. Best Scottish player you played with or against?
Played with or against? Played with Stuart McAnally. I think was brilliant. He was a hooker.
Oh, yeah.
And in his prime, he was playing, he was up there with the best hookers, I think. And but just his leadership, he was our captain, and his leadership was awesome. He's just a really good human, but very, very good player. Who else was there? Finn Russell, mate, was he's his. When you see guys that they've got extra time, and good players do have that extra time on the ball, and his was next level. Yeah, he's got a lot of time on the ball and just real cruisy customer.
Yeah,
he was really awesome to train and play outside. And I only got to play with him once. Yeah, but to train outside of that's when I saw it. I was holy shit! And he picked the right. Person to hit all the time, and it was nice to watch.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm a big fan of old Finn. So, okay, next one. Favourite punt you've wound home? These would be a few of these.
Oh, there was back in the day. Terror to Love was always a good one, in the cup.
Oh, Terror to Love,
3 in a row,
yeah.
just whipping it down the outside.
5 or 6 wide by the hot dog stand.
Brilliant, hey.
Incredible.
Roaring it in.
Terror to Love, good one. Okay, 2 more. If you could start your career again, what would you do differently?
I think get more into the mental side of rugby. There's psychology around it, because when I was younger, you have this not air of arrogance, but you're a bit naive, and you think you don't need the help, and you just trot along doing what you do. And I think it would have been really beneficial for me in those early days, just to tackle a few different aspects or issues that you probably crept into your game, and on-field, off-field stuff throughout your career. And I really wish I dived into that more as a young player. And I don't know if the younger boys have started doing that or not, but it's I really highly recommend doing that, because I think it does end up flowing into your game. Yeah. If you could understand yourself more, you're going to get more out of yourself. So
yeah. Mate, I can so relate to that. Totally agree, massively. When you're young, I was so sceptical about all that sort of stuff, but just diving into it and giving it a crack, I think that's
100%.
Awesome advice. Actually, we've got a couple more questions from John Hardy. I forgot about this.
Oh, yeah. Hard horse.
Ask him about playing golf at his flat at St Clair.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we might have been on day 2. Day 2 bender, and there was a few of us, and I think we were on the top of the hill in St Clair, and for some reason we probably thought we could drive it out to the beach, and I think we've just started teeing off golf balls. A few houses might have got peppered, I'd say. I think Scratcher, Braden Mitchell, he teed one up, and I knew that could go anywhere, and I think that went rocketed, and there was a tinny garage door right opposite us, and it just went boff, huge noise. Might have got a bit of strife for that one, but
Scratcher, he was a good man.
Yeah, he's a good man.
Okay, him and Joe Wheeler on the golf cart. Was that the same?
Yeah. It's not the same weekend but yeah, when you're on the golf course, and you're in the golf carts, and you might be in pairs, and your bags are strapped onto the back, and you play the game where you just loosen the straps a little bit. Yeah. And when they take off, their bag falls off. It's so immature, but it's hilarious at the time. And we used to do that all the time while we were playing. And I remember, I think me and Scratcher, Braden Mitchell, were in a cart together, and Hards and Joey Wheeler, and mate, we've been on the tee block on the 18th, I think, and we'd got them all day, and they tried to get us, and Joey sprinted to flick it off, and Scratch just put the foot down, but not watched, and he's watching him, and we've gone off the side of this into the bushes, into a massive tree, but quite a big drop off. Oh, absolutely. And the cart got stuck.
Oh, true.
But fuck, it was funny. We both almost got quite badly hurt, actually. But it was bloody hilarious.
You survived.
We were in tears laughing for a few while. Survivors.
Oh, good stuff. Okay, last question. Best piece of advice you have for a What a Lad listener?
Mate, be curious. Be curious about everything. I think, I go back to talking about, the mental side of rugby, and just keep asking questions all the time, and don't ever think that you know everything, because you don't. Yeah. You definitely don't. Every conversation you have, just be curious.
Yeah, mate, love that, and that's why you're going to be such a good coach once you finish. So that little teaser from you there is going to get, I reckon, a few more opportunities come your way post this podcast release, because like I said, I think you'll be a great coach. But really appreciate you coming on the podcast, mate. What a story, what a yarn, what a career you've had, starting off as that young guy who thought he was always going to be a professional rugby player. Look back on your career now, and you can tick all those boxes off. You've done it, and still going strong at 37, despite all the times you probably felt like it was going to end, but still going strong, and looking forward to following what's next for you as well.
Thank you, mate, and pleasure being on here, and you've done a brilliant job with this podcast, haven't you? It's been awesome.
This is going to take it to the whole new level. Look forward to releasing it. But appreciate it, mate.
Thank you, bud. Thank you.